So I am excited to be here to be able to moderate this conversation between these folks here, these heavy hitters. I'm sure many of them look familiar to you all. But before we get into introductions of the panelists, I kind of want to know who's in the room. So do we have small business owners in the room? Okay, got a couple, okay. Do we have people who support small businesses in the room? Okay, gotcha. Very nice. Well, hopefully the goal is that we're all able to take some nuggets that we can use either for ourselves and our small businesses or, to keep in mind as we support other small businesses. Cool. So our lovely panel. We have Mr. Gilberto Herrea, we have Mrs. Chasiti Shepard, and we have Mrs. Rasheda Leroy. So I am going to let each of them give y'all a little bit of background about who they are and what they do, and then we'll get into some conversation. You want to start, Gilberto?
Yeah, I'm gonna let I'm gonna say the best for last to my left, both of those ladies. So my name is Gilberto Herrea, and I'm honored to sit on this panel with such esteemed, people and figures in Birmingham. I've been in sales most of my life. When I came to this country, I couldn't get a traditional job because I was an immigrant. So I had to figure out how to earn income. And sales is the oldest and most profitable, way to earn money. So I didn't have a system then, but then I went to a bank and I was like, this is the same thing I did when I was, selling my pit bulls or selling my art and things of that nature. So started out at the bank. Then I went into retail sales. I even did sales for a company called Sitcore, which trains the people that work in Walmart to sell you DirecTV. The people that bother you as soon as you walk in. I used to train those guys. So that's a whole different sales cycle. And then where Chasiti and I connected, we both did, digital marketing sales where we sold contracts anywhere from 20,000 to upwards of 500,000 to, corporations. So that led me to digital marketing. So as it stands now, my firm helps, personal brands be disruptors in their marketplace and monetize their name.
Hey, y'all. I am Chasiti Shepard. I am the president of Be Grace Media, and I got my start at AT&T Advertising and Publishing. I started there. I wanted to go into what they call outside sales or pharmaceutical sales, but I couldn't get a job. Everybody said, hey, I like your energy. We think you're great, but you don't have any business-to-business experience. So I ended up calling every advertising firm in the phone book, and I got my start, and I worked at the phone book. And then I took that, what I learned there, and I often had clients reaching out to me, asking me questions, and I took the knowledge that I learned there to kind of form my own thing. So now I own Be Grace Media, where we're transcultural storytellers. We connect brands with people, and we get them talking. And we do that through multiple forms of communication, through digital marketing, through social media, community engagement, anything forward-facing or client-facing, we do that.
Awesome. I'm Rasheda Leroy. I am founder and CEO of LRY Media Group. We are a solutions agency. Coming through COVID, we realized that with what we do, we truly provide solutions to our clients. Our solutions range from event, experiential, marketing, PR, and community engagement. We most recently, in 2022, produced the opening and closing ceremonies for the World Games. And so now our aim is positioning ourselves as a global company and being able to work not only throughout Alabama, the nation, and internationally.
Awesome. So before we get too deep into this conversation, I kind of wanted to ground us a little bit, right? So everybody's journey is different, right? And so my hope is that as you all kind of listen to this conversation and go to other events during Small Business Week, that you'll kind of keep that in mind. I like to think about sales and marketing and really other components of like running your business as like ingredients to a cake, right? So there are some basic foundational ingredients: flour, egg, sugar, all of that good stuff. But my grandmama German chocolate cake gonna taste different from your grandmama German chocolate cake, right? So my hope is that as you are able to listen to these experts, hear their experiences, hear their perspectives, figure out like how they think, how they arrive to some of the decisions they've made, that you'll be able to say, those are some pieces I may be able to put into my own recipe, right? As opposed to thinking you're gonna find an exact blueprint of what it is you wanna do and who you wanna be, right? So I want you to take everything you hear this week as truth, but not law. Does that make sense? We good? Okay, cool. So my main goal for this conversation is to talk about what sales is, what marketing is, how they differ, and where they interact in terms of allowing you all to get to the point of closing deals. So I kind of want to start there, and we can just go down the line. If you want to start with, how do you define sales? How do you define marketing? And how do they interact?
Yeah, so sales is a transfer of value between yourself and the person you want to serve. Marketing is how you just grab someone's attention to get them to the point where you can sell them. So they work, they intertwine and they have to work together. So I work with someone who does fundraising, and every time we're on a call, he's like, "Man, I'm so glad you're doing my marketing for me, because marketing supersedes fundraising. You make introductions easier for me. You make people almost want to give me their credit card information. So it makes selling a lot easier because you create that awareness for someone, and you already know we only deal with who we know, like, and trust. So if I can at least get you to the point where someone knows about you, knows a little bit about what you're about, and is interested enough to learn more when you walk in front of them, it makes the selling process a lot easier versus if I just cold approach you, which we used to do all the time, and it takes 10, 15 phone calls just to get you to get an appointment with me, because at that point, I don't know anything about you, and they got 100 other people doing the same thing, so how do you stand out?
Right.
Absolutely. So sales is something that we do every single day. I mean, you're selling something every time you talk to someone, every time you engage with someone. So that's your interaction. Marketing is actually promoting something.
Yeah, and I agree with both of you. I think also when we think of sales, it really is about your value proposition, right? So what are you truly bringing to the table? How will you, like the conversation was going, like, what's going to make you different from your competitor? What's going to make you different from other businesses, that pop up in this landscape that may or may not have a service that's similar to yours? And when I think about the marketing aspect of it, for me, sometimes the lines do cross, right? Because we have this service or this product that we're selling, but at the same time, when we're marketing, we're also trying to make sure that we stand out in the marketplace and in the spaces that we're in. And it's also, a lot of times for us, especially when it comes to marketing, I can't meet every single person, right, in this room, or every single person, in this city or state that we want to do business with, or we want them to take advantage of what we provide. So marketing for us is also like a taste of our personality, who we are, what we do, how will we provide that service to you. And so it gives people an opportunity to basically get that first impression of you, right, without having to sometimes physically meet you or be in that space with you.
That's good. Gilberto, you mentioned people do business with folks they know, like, and trust. So can you talk a little bit more about how do we get people to know, like, and trust us? What is that process like? Any advice in terms of talking to folks and actually trying to build those relationships?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, you got to know who you want to serve. You got to be really clear on the customer that you want to serve that can get the most value from what you have to offer. Oftentimes, I start talking to people and they come to me and they say, "Hey, I got this great product, I got this great idea, and I think it's going to be game changing." I'm like, "All right, who we going to sell it to?" And I start asking really deep questions. All right, who is this person? How old are they? Are they single? Are they married? How much money do they make? Are they educated? What do they like? What they don't like? What are their fears, frustrations? What state are they in before they start working with you? What you going to give them after? Because marketing is not about selling a product or service. It's about showing a transformation. It's like a movie. People want the happily ever after. But when you start marketing to that person, that's just getting them to the point where you got to close the deal. Whether you do that through your website, in person, over the phone, you still have to connect those two. And it's still, a process that you have to go through.
Rasheda, you mentioned the value proposition. So I'm curious, could each of you share a little bit about how you approach the sales process, the conversations that you're having with folks in terms of explaining to them what it is you do, figuring out what problem it is they have, how you can solve it? How do y'all approach those conversations?
Yeah, well, for me, I take a very practical approach to when we're working with our clients, right? The first thing is discovery. Before I can tell you what I think the solution is, before we can give you any strategy, before we can start talking roadmap and project planning, I need to understand, like, where are you currently? And then where do you want to be, right? And then what are those things in between that can make or break this experience or can make or break this campaign? And so once we get a good understanding of what those things are, then that's when we start to go through and we say, okay, this is how we do that, right? And so that this is how we do that is a lot, right? And each one of us probably have a different, this is how we do that. But for us, this is how we do that. Then we start to say, okay, so what is it about this experience or what is it about this campaign that we know needs to be unique? What is it about it that we know needs to be creative? What is about it that we know needs to stand above whoever the competitor is or whatever that landscape is? And then we start to take those pieces, and that's how we start to come up with what we think that value proposition is. It's different for every client. Like for us, when we're doing events, it's different for every event. When we're doing marketing campaigns, of course, it's different for every marketing campaign. But the core thought process behind it is still the same. So we want to make sure we have a great understanding of what it is that we are here to provide in order to then say what we believe that value proposition is, and then what's going to make that valuable, not only for the client, but whoever the client is trying to reach.
Chasiti, I know when we talked, you were telling me about basically how the sales process doesn't end, right? Even once you sign a client, you're still in that process. Can you talk a little bit more about how you continue to nurture those relationships even after they've signed on?
So building commonality. At the end of the day, people do business with people that they like and find connectivity to stay connected with those people. And I can just attest to, like, our company has grown a lot. And I can't touch every single client that we have. I can't touch them anymore. It's gone beyond that. And so, not only do I have a team that's helping me to support those people, but I have to check in as well, because a lot of times those people who sign those contracts, they sign them with me. And so me doing my trust checkers, me checking in and just building those relationships, I say it all the time, like I want every single client, this is part of our mission, every single client that walks through this door should feel like our only client. So no matter how big we get, how many clients we get, how many marketing campaigns that we come up with, that one client, it only matters to them. They don't care how many other meetings I have to go to. They don't care however many other clients that I have. They only care about whatever campaign that we're running for them. So just making sure that I stay connected with the clients in which I serve, because a lot of times they signed on because of me. And like Rasheda said, it's, commonality, that connectivity. They want to be connected with you. And so maintaining those relationships.
Gotcha. I'm curious about the depth of some of these relationships that y'all have, because I think when we hear sales and marketing, we think kind of on the surface, right? Like, what are we doing to put ourselves out there? What are these conversations we're having with people who possibly want to buy from us? But I'm curious about how you all approach developing relationships with people. I think, Rasheda, when you and I talked, you mentioned that you may not be forming a relationship with someone who wants to buy from you, or who can buy from you, or who can buy from you today. So I guess as you move through out your daily lives, or even in situations like this, right, where you're able to network, how do you approach those conversations where you're not explicitly selling, or maybe not explicitly selling yet?
Yeah, so you never lead with trying to sell anyway, because people like to buy, but they don't like to be sold. And I'm not selling anything unless we specifically schedule a time for us to discuss where you are and where you want to get to, as Rasheda said. And then I have two arms of my business. So I sell to businesses and I also sell to individuals. And those sales processes are different. When I'm talking to individuals, most of the time they find me online. They go to my site, they either purchase something or download something that I gave to them for free, and then that prompts them through my funnel to get to a call with me. And in that first phone call, I'm trying to get to know where they are personally, professionally, and financially, and really trying to get to the why as to why they want to, be a business consultant, or why they want to write this ebook, or why they want to build this coaching program. Because at the end of the day, that's not, that's just a product. But I really want to get to know you and what really makes you tick. And oftentimes I find they want to be that first person in their family to, build wealth, or they got kids they want to leave a legacy to, and things of that nature. And that really matters more. And once we go through that and I really learn who they are and I got their trust, then I say, okay, I really know everything about you. Let me show you how I can help you. With businesses, it's cold outreach. I'm probably calling, AT&T 100 times before I can get one meeting inside the door. And in that meeting, I'm not selling. Just like Rasheda said, I'm trying to figure out, what are your goals? What you need? What are your pain points? What's keeping you up at night? How can I make you look like a hero? And then I come back with a proposal based on everything that they told me. So when the objections come, I'll go back and say, hold up. Didn't you tell me you want to get X here? And didn't you tell me you want to change this? Well, what is it costing you not to take action right now? If you do things the same way that you've been doing them, what's the cost of inaction for you? That's a question.
That's that good AT&T sales training right there. How to overcome objections.
Yeah, I also think, when I think of relationships, it's so many like levels, dynamics, right? And, people define relationships different. Like we are in relation with each other right now, right? Just by being in this space together. So when I think about, from a client perspective, right? Those are relationships that from the very beginning may or may not turn over anything, right? It is, I've identified somebody who I want to connect with. And then once I connect with you, I let that organically take its shape, right? If it turns into business, great. It may be a mentor for me. It might be somebody who, God has called me to mentor myself, right? So that's like one level of relationship, right? When I think about our customers and our clients, again, even though a lot of times we may not be able to always like be in space with you, always connect with you, but it's what they see of us, right? That's another form of relationship. It is being able to do what you say you're gonna do, right? You provide the service that you say you're going to provide, and you do it with a level of excellence, right? And so when people see that, they start to build a relationship with your brand that keeps them wanting to interact with you. And ultimately, I think this is what does lead to successful businesses, but it's not always about, I'm trying to sell you something. I'm trying to meet you because I want you to buy something, or I'm just trying to pursue something that has a dollar value to it. All of these things to me fit into our life cycle. And because they always, for me, happen so organically, like it's hard for me to even tell you a lot of times, like what relationships did what. I just know that like they've all come full circle in some kind of way, because that's the approach I've always taken with them.
Yeah.
I will say too, yesterday I was on a call with a specific bank, and the person who I talked to on the line said, "Hey, I know you, and you never know who's paying attention to what you're doing." This lady told me all about an event that we performed for her. She told me how great it was and how excited she was to work with. I'm coming to these people for some financial needs, and this lady legit knew exactly who I was, what we did, named the event, was there. So a lot of times when we're not in relation or we don't think we are, we are. I mean, people are watching. So always put your best brand forward. I was shocked. Like I left the call saying, "Oh, I know this don't work out for me." You know what I mean? But always position it that way. And if you take care of people and you take care of your relationships, they'll take care of you. I promise you, I have clients who truly think that we are the best of friends. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. My clients call me all night long. I mean, like they legit think we're great friends. And we are. Don't get me wrong. We are friends. But there is a line between client and friendship.
I'm curious about some of the more, I guess, maybe formal tips or formal points when you are in some of these sales conversations, like you were mentioning some of the stuff he got from the AT&T. Can y'all, I guess, more explicitly state, like I know you talked about figuring out what the problem is. There was a part of adding urgency to it. So can y'all kind of go through some of those?
Yeah.
So definitely discovery. So when you first enter into a conversation with someone, you want to know what's going on with them, know what they do, why they do it. And the most important thing is why they do it, because the why they do it is going to influence how they buy. Okay. So knowing what they do, then find out what their pain points are. People only buy when they're in this form called power stress. And that's when they feel like they need to make a buying decision. If someone's apathetic about the problem that they have, they are not going to buy from you. And then also learn how to overcome objections. And you do that on the front end. Know your client. If you know your client in and out, you won't have a lot of objections, because you can go back to that good sales training. Like he said, "Oh, you remember you said you wanted to do X, Y, and Z. You remember you told me about this. You remember this is your goal, and this is how I'm going to help you achieve it." So it's definitely discovery, identifying pain points, and learning how to overcome objections.
And following up.
That too. And I like to say, I know doesn't bother me, because sometimes no is just closer to a yes. You know what I mean? I'm okay with somebody telling me no 5 or 6 times, especially if it's someone who I know I can truly help. And the goal isn't for me to be the hero. The goal is to make sure that the client sees the value in what I'm trying to give to them. I'm not the hero here. Your brand is, or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. So making sure that we feed back into, hey, this is why you want to do X, Y, and Z. Like, at the end of the day, yes, we all want to make money, but there's something a little deeper than money that causes people to do whatever it is that they do.
Did you want to add any other thoughts?
No, I think that was well said.
And with me, you got to think about it. If you're dealing with a C-suite executive at a corporation, they get 100 million calls every day from different departments, from different people outside. Everybody's trying to sell them something. Mm-hmm. Or if you're marketing something online to a specific individual, they see thousands of advertisements a day. Mm-hmm. So with me, I really try to put myself in their mind, and how I disrupt their days, I always gift them something. So, for instance, with an individual that sees one of my ads, they get a free download. Mm-hmm. You know, it could be a case study for a client similar to them who I help, and I detailed everything about what we did, the specific strategies that they can take away. Even if they don't work with me, I want them to win. Mm-hmm. Or if it's a C-suite executive, instead of, leaving a voicemail or something, I find out their shoe size. I send them a box that says, I got one foot in the door. Help me get the other foot in the door by taking a meeting with me. So those are the little things that you do that you have to stand out. Mm-hmm. And because they get a big box, and it's got a nice bow and everything on it, and I can find you can go to DSW and get a cheap pair of shoes. The fact is, you grab their attention to the point that made them say, this dude was so bold to do this, I need to take a phone call with him, or at least, meet with him. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the times, it don't even have to be a lunch. Listen, give me 20 minutes of your time. I guarantee you, I'm going to make the most of it, because I got you in mind. I've already been doing research, and there's some things that I got in mind that I could do to help you, but I want to learn from you.
I hope y'all wrote that down. That sounds like a cheat code.
That is.
Send them shoes.
You just got to leave with value. Yeah.
Okay.
He said one shoe.
Okay.
Yeah, I keep one shoe. I just send them one shoe.
So you got to get back in contact with me in order for.
I like it.
And now you got to make relationships with the people around them. Mm-hmm. When there's a lot of times when I'm calling on companies and they don't answer the phone, so I show up to the office and they turn that no loitering sign up to me, and I'm like, I got my sunglasses on and I can't read, so you're gonna have to, help. If you want to help me get out this door as quickly as possible, you'll tell me who handles your marketing and your sales process. I just need a contact and what I can do to help you.
Relentless.
Yeah,
okay.
You have
Gotcha.
because nobody
write
else
that
is
down.
doing it.
Honestly, I'm curious too, because when I think about the sales process and the conversations y'all are having, right? To me, that's also data. Like, what you're getting back from the people you're talking to is data. And you mentioned earlier about making sure you know your target audience. That's important across the board, but we know it's super important in marketing when you talk about running ads. So I'm curious, from y'all's experience, what elements, data, information have you all taken from these sales conversations and actually implemented in your marketing strategies?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, for us, it's literally every piece of information that a client gives us in some form or fashion that's used to develop a strategy. It goes into their vision, their goals, objectives. We have a series of questions that we ask as a part of our discovery that helps us really understand what is success, right? Because at the end of the day, what keeps that client coming back is when you've done something that they feel is successful, number one. It was worth whatever that price or that value that you put on the service. You made their life convenient. Like, that is one of the biggest things for us is if you hire us to do anything for you, you literally, it's like the HR, what's the tax company? It's like showing people doing everything but taxes, right? Like, that's us. Like, I want you to be doing everything except planning an event or worrying about your brand or your marketing strategy, right? So for us, like, we take everything. And then even in conversations, like, sometimes you think, oh, well, I have this planned out, so I'm good. No, we are always listening. Because as you're having these conversations, as you're getting to know the people that you're working with, you're getting to know the experiences that you do, you're learning something new every day and every time. And one thing I'll add to the last question was personality, right? Every business has a personality. Every client has a personality, every corporation, every nonprofit. And so as you are out here working with your customers and your clients, really get to know their personality. And that's not like Rasheda's personality is different from the LRY personality, right? Absolutely. So not looking at the person personally, it is really understanding the entire scope of that particular brand so that you understand what you need to provide, how you need to provide it, and ultimately what will make them happy at the end of the day. Because happiness means I'm coming back.
Absolutely.
I'll add to that. A lot of times we think we know what's best for our clients. Like, we've been doing this for a while, and I know it's really easy if you tell me your business, I can spit off a solution to you right now. But if I perform that for your business and if that's not what you truly want, I know we can help you grow, but what if you just want publicity? What if you just want PR and I'm gonna sell you marketing? We have to listen, and that's in the beginning, and then we have to establish KPIs. Those key performance indicators, and then also do trust checkers to make sure that those are still their goals. Yeah. Like, a lot of times, we'll go into business and we'll see, okay, I know it'll take. I know how to grow your business, period, point blank. But a lot of times, that may not necessarily be what they want. You have to know what your client wants.
Yeah. And then also another key element to that is we can put an amazing strategy together that we think may work, and then when we put out into the marketplace, remember their customer ultimately has to buy it. So in the beginning, it's a lot of testing. It's a lot of refining. It's a lot of, you need at least a month and a half to even get some true data to be able to track to something or to trend to something. And sometimes you got to switch the whole thing around.
Algorithms change. Yeah. Things are constantly changing. What worked 3 months ago, a year ago, those things don't work anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What worked yesterday in some cases
Absolutely
don't work today. So things are always evolving. I think that's a great message.
I think one of the things I wanted to pull out of the conversation too, as it pertains to sales, is that even though we live in this digital age, there is still a certain element of beating your feet you're gonna have to do if you own a business. And I brought that up, one, because again, you're able to pull data from those conversations, right? Well, what should I, put in my content online? Well, now I know what my target audience is dealing with because I've literally talked to them. So when we have that information and we're able to, put that plan together, we know what we want to say. How do we determine where we put our messages in terms of the marketing channels? Like, how do we determine those things?
It all depends on who you're trying to go after. So I'm heavily invested in LinkedIn. So all my C-suite outreach nationwide, my $10,000, $20,000 speaking engagements come from LinkedIn. And, that Sales Navigator tool has some software that can attach to the back of it, and I automate a lot of those conversations. And when I get a bite, then I take over and I start trying to get them on the phone. But if you're on, let's say, social media, 9 times out of 10, that C-suite executive is not going to be there. So you just got to know where your audience is and show up. So don't let the world tell you that you got to be on every social media platform, because that's going to drive you crazy if you don't have a true strategy and a way to automate a lot of that stuff. And secondly, like you said, in the beginning, you have more time than you got money. Your best bet is to make a list of 100 people you feel like you might want to do business with and reach out to them and see if y'all can go out to coffee, if you can meet up with them, and then start asking them where they are in their business and try to figure out how you can add value to what they're doing and make them, like you said, like Chasiti said, the hero of their own story. You're not the hero. Your customer is the hero. You just so happen to be the guide along that journey.
Yeah, you have to know who your customer is too. Everybody is not your customer, okay? Everybody is not your customer. So when you start to define like who your customer is, then you can start like talking to your customer, right? So it's just like knowing who your friends are. Right. And you know how you and your friends talk and how y'all communicate, and y'all got y'all own little languages and lingo and the things that y'all do that only y'all understand. Well, that's how it is with your customer base, right? And so once you really define who your customer is, now you know how to talk to your customer, right? Now you know what information your customer is interested in, right? And then now you know how to really approach your customer. But it really does start with defining who your customer is.
I'll add to that. And now you know who's not your customer. So don't waste your time with people who are not for you. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, be okay with saying, hey, I know LRY, they'd probably be a better fit for what you're trying to do. Be okay with that.
Right. And it's going to take frequency and consistency. If they don't know you, you got to be in front of them frequently and consistently. So your goal should be to not only try to get them so that you can get in front of them, but even after that, do you have their email? You know, continue to send them valuable emails. Can you add them to a free Facebook group where, you know, they get a chance to network with other like-minded individuals where maybe they can get some deals out of whatever it is that you're doing? You know, do you have events that you can invite them to as a VIP guest until, you know, I mean, you can get really creative, but the goal is to stay in front of them frequently and consistently. Because think about it. There's only 3 ways to grow a business. You either got to get more customers all the time, meaning a whole bunch of new people coming in. You got to get those customers that bought from you to buy more, or you got to get those customers to buy more frequently. So how do you create a space where once you get somebody to be your customer, they either tell others about the experience and bring more people in, or you get them to ascend along that journey? Because they might start off with a social media campaign, but then they might graduate to a full SEO strategy and, you know, SEM and pay-per-click, you know.
And it's events.
And then events, you know. So you gotta really map out your customer value journey. So, and there's several different phases to it. We won't get into that because we can spend a whole day on that, but just know your customer goes through a buying process and you gotta be present at every cycle of, you know, every stage of the cycle.
I think that's really good, especially when we think about how sales and marketing work together, because it's that journey where we see those things start to collide. I liked when you talked about, you know, calling the bank and realizing like, oh, they actually know who I am. Right. So I'm sure that there was some components of marketing, right? Whether that was they saw something or word of mouth, but you didn't have to, you know, put any extra effort for that connection to be made. And so the way I see that is if you do your due diligence in the sales process, it can cut down on the need to market as much because your work, your personality is, you know, the point of marketing is to touch more people, right?
Right.
Part of that is doing it for you. And Rasheda, when you and I talked, we talked about how, you know, you all are set here locally, but like you mentioned, you are working on a global strategy. Can you talk about how, you know, the process of deciding to, you know, come up with a new marketing strategy for the company, how you came to that decision and what that process has been like so far?
Yeah. So, one, I think when I think about where we started, right, for every business in here, you start based off the resources that you have, right? So it's probably going to be your money that you're investing, your time, right? Because typically when you start a business, you really can't go out and start hiring like a PR firm and a marketing company, right? You know, you do the basic, maybe you get a bookkeeper to help you keep up. So, you know, we started like every small business starts with this dream. We got a lot of opportunities very early on, and those opportunities started creating more opportunities. And so we've only been in business 6 years now.
Really?
Yeah, something like, yeah. Okay. Wow. I lose track. It like every day is so much. I feel like it's been 20 years. But, you know, that first year in business, we saw like, you know, very organic growth, but it was very steady. And by year 3, we had literally gotten this huge opportunity, right? And so most businesses, you're in business 10, maybe 15, 20 years before you see something like an international sporting event come your way. And so we now see this influx of business coming in, right? So that was 2 things for us. It is we got to scale and grow on the staffing side. And then now we have to really say who we are in this space and what we do. And so that was the need to then look at our marketing strategy, because from a recruitment perspective, we want to bring on the best candidates in the business, and they want to know who you are, what you do, how sustainable are you, and am I going to have a career with your company? And then from a business perspective, we want to grow outside of, you know, where we currently are. And so it became, now we have this opportunity to really showcase ourselves. And so those were the 2 deciding factors. We know we have a lot of business coming, so we got to staff and scale up on one end, Well, to sustain that growth, that means we have to, have business on the other side. We do very well here in Alabama, and we love Alabama, right? Like, this is our home state. We're going to be here forever. This is headquarters. But again, just that need to really get beyond our borders and think through where are there more opportunities now based on our skill level, how we're trying to grow, and where we see ourselves within the next 5 to 10 years. So that was the decision for us to really kick off this expansion when it comes to our strategic marketing and how we're moving into 2024.
And part of the reason I wanted to bring that up is because, like you mentioned, between 5 and 6 years, right? This is an established business. So this marketing thing is ever evolving. You're never going to do it one time and think that this is who we are, what we do. As we grow as people, as our companies grow, the brand's personality may change. Everything that's connected to that foundation is going to need to be updated and changed over time. So I appreciate you for sharing that, because I think sometimes it's easy when we are maybe starting out and we're listening to folks who are further along than us to think, okay, well, they got it all together, it's fine. They did everything they needed to in the first year and now they're set. And it's like, no. So I think the other takeaway is that you all are probably further along in your journeys than you think you are, right? You're likely on the right path in ways that you may not feel like you are, because it is hard to gauge like what business owners are doing, what's right, what's wrong. Like, we're all here as our representative, right? Like, this is the part of us you're able to see, but you don't know what's going on in the background. But to know that the biggest, most successful companies are always taking a look at themselves, figuring out how can they be better every single day. So again, appreciate you for sharing that. Appreciate all of y'all for sharing your background, your perspective. But I wanted to take a moment really quickly just to see if we had any questions from the audience at all. Excuse me. Great information, by the way, you guys have shared. You guys talked earlier about knowing the personality of a business or their client. How important is it to know, or it could be synonymous, is culture of the client or the business for the individual that you're serving?
Very important, because like Rasheda said, once you know their culture, their buying habits, where they are, you can talk to them in a way that you can relate to them. So think of McDonald's. I'm loving it. They don't even spell the word loving properly, so they speak to the common person. But if you go to a tennis match or a golf tournament, you got people like Rolex, banks, and they speak in a very sophisticated manner because they understand that the person that's there is usually a higher net worth individual and knows how to read a little better than the person that goes to McDonald's all the time.
I'll also add to that, like, also knowing like who their standard, and like, do you want to be connected with the standard of that client? Just being transparent, we work with a lot of different companies. I'm not going to name one, but we work with a national organization that is big on tobacco usage. Okay, it's one of their pain points. Like, it's like an absolute no. And we did an event in Montgomery where we had women in a cigar bar. These are true stories, okay? And this client was livid with us because they are big on no use of tobacco. Not that we were out there using tobacco, but because we represented their brand and we were promoting someone who wasn't necessarily promoting tobacco products. They were actually promoting women being able to have a seat at the table and being everywhere they wanted to be. That was an issue for them. So knowing your client, knowing their standards, and also remembering when you align yourself with someone's brand, you align with their values too, whether good, bad, or indifferent. You know what I mean? And so that was a lesson learned from us, for me personally, just being transparent. But you have to know that, like, know what's going to make your client tick, and know their culture, know their brand, know what really makes them who they are. And you have to decide, is that something that you want to align yourself with? And be okay with saying, I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, ditto. And that's exactly what I was going to say. I think when you truly understand the personality of businesses that you may or may not want to work with, then you have to make sure it aligns with your values and your personality. And also, I don't know if you have a team of people who work for you, right? Like things that motivate your team, right? Like your company culture motivates your team if they want to come in every day and be a part of what you're offering. It's the same thing with people that you work for, right? So when you are aligned, when you share the same vision, you have the same morals, you have the same values, then now I want to show up for you every day. Right. So it is like almost, discovery for me is also trying to understand, is this somebody that I truly want to be aligned with? Because we think, oh, they come out and they choose us, but we have a choice too. Right. Like you can choose to work with people or you can choose not to. So really understanding their culture and personality helps you do that as well.
Absolutely. And always keep in mind, what's that transformation they want? What's that story that they want to be able to tell themselves? If you help them change the way they tell their story, you got them for life. You got their heart. And that matters more than anything.
Quick question. So when you had that, that client that had an issue with the young lady and the tobacco, how did you specifically derail that conversation? And now, do you still have that client, or did it come to a point where you had to actually let them go? In a sense?
So transparency is key. Be honest. I was honest. I said, hey, I understand exactly how you feel. I'm empathetic, like show empathy. I understand exactly how you feel. And now me sitting back looking at it, I understand exactly what you were trying to convey and why you're bothered by this. But ultimately, that wasn't the case. What you are presuming to be fact is not. This was not about tobacco usage. This was about providing women with access to opportunities that they may not have never had. Yes, we're at a cigar bar, but I'm not going to smoke a cigar. But if a woman wants to smoke a cigar, that is her option. That is her choice. That's what this was about. It's about ladies being able to have a seat at a gentleman's club. And I explained that. They understood. We agreed to disagree, and they're still a client of ours. Does that make sense? And then you have to be able to stand your ground too. At the end of the day, I'm in the money-making business. Yes, I provide solutions. Yes, I want to help you grow your business. But I show up to Be Grace Media every single day because I expect a paycheck. The 8 employees that I have, they want their checks. You know what I mean? And so we have got to be able to make decisions based on what our financial needs are, but also things that fall in line with our values.
So at what point in you all's businesses or personal brands did you all make the shift, or was there a specific shift that you had to make to get your big break, whether that be something that you were doing personally, being more disciplined, or trusting other people with the work you were doing? Like, was it something specific that you did to grow or reach those goals?
I never had a big break. I think you have to show up every single day. This isn't a part-time or I think I'm gonna do this today. No, I show up every single day. I'm investing in my business. I'm investing in my people every single day. So I've never had a big break. My break is I come to work and I do the best that I possibly can for my clients. I make mistakes. When I make them, I own them, and then I move forward. So it's success isn't built overnight. Like, yes, you can have big opportunities, but you got to have something to keep you going in perpetuity. Like, you have got to continuously move. You got to constantly evolve. So I don't think anybody on this panel has had a big great break. They've had big opportunities, but they haven't had big breaks. Because at the end of the day, if World Games ended, you had to what?
We still got to get out here and grind.
There you go.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think these, first of all, you have to go after opportunities that you see. So World Games was an opportunity that we went after and we got. But before World Games, there were 15 other opportunities that we went after, right? Some of them we got, some of them we didn't get. So I think it's one of those where you just have to, like she said, you show up every day. You have to determine what kind of business are you going to be. And when I say that, I don't mean the type of product that you're selling or the services that you're offering, but what are your values? What do you stand on, right? Integrity. Do what you say you're going to do, right? When you take somebody's money, make sure you are producing to that last dime or dollar. And you're doing it based on what you told them you would do. So if you told them you were going to paint this entire room red, when I come in, the entire room needs to be red. If that black line is still there, you didn't do what you said you were going to do, right? And so it's always about standing behind your word, making sure that you literally execute based on your values, And that's what's going to keep you sustained, right? We all go through ups and downs. COVID almost took all of us out, right? Yeah. But the fact that we stood on our brands, we stood on our words, and we were innovative, right? You know, when we couldn't personally be together, right? We saw other ways to connect our brands. We saw other ways to tell stories. We saw other ways to connect people. So at the end of the day, it's show up, it's work hard, it's do what you say you're going to do it at the highest level you can possibly do it at, and don't overpromise, right? And then underdeliver. Because we see that a lot. And, you know, this myth is that happens to just Black businesses. That's not true. That happens to businesses across the board that are just trying to make it work, right? And thinking that along the way, I'll connect these dots, when really that's not how it happens. It is, I'm giving you what I know I can do and at the level that I know I can do it at. And just always stand on that. And we talked about this, being authentic. Part of what people really like, what they connect with is you being you, right? Your authentic self, whatever you bring into this space. And so always bring that authentic part of you into what you do with your business. And that's going to make you stand out above, you know, anything else.
Yeah. So like they both said, I don't see myself having a big break. Everything that I started doing. So when I left working for the same company her and I worked together in, I left to be a real estate investor. And the clients that I had called me and said, hey, I don't care what you're doing. I need you to still manage my account, whether that's through your business or wherever else you go. But I can't deal with the people that they have me over now. So I had to figure it out. And every step of the way, everything that I do, one, I'm not going to do something for someone that I'm not going to do for myself. Two, I continuously learn. You know, I before I do anything for anybody throughout the day, I take an hour to learn something every day. Because like you said, marketing is always evolving. Branding is always evolving. Sales processes are always changing. So, you know, her niche is major events. Chasiti's niche is getting people spoken. Mine is direct response marketing. So I'm the guy that writes sales letters for people. And when I started doing them, people were charging $50,000, $60,000 for those letters. And I would go to someone and be like, let me write one for free. And then let's track the results. And if it works, all I want from you is just a case study so that I can take to other people. And now the same thing, I'm launching something new. I'm gonna go to somebody else that I'm already doing business with, and I'm gonna be like, hey, let me test this with you. It's not gonna cost you anything. But in 6 months, if you like what I provided for you and you like the results after we track them, can I get a testimonial from you or another case study so that I can use in the marketplace? So that's just been my big break. Is like they said, just blood, sweat, and tears. You know, getting in my car and getting told no 50 to 100 times a day until I get that one yes. And that one yes is sometimes not a contract. It's just, yes, I'll sit down with you next week.
That's good. That's good. Listen, I appreciate y'all. Okay. Honestly, because, you know, I'm a business owner myself, and this takes a level of vulnerability to share, you know, what you do behind the scenes, to share some of your experiences, some of your wins, some of your losses, how you bounce back. So definitely appreciate all of y'all for sharing. Appreciate all of you all for coming. This Small Business Week is not over. Today's events are not over. And I think Alicia, owner of Polaris, wanted to come up and say a few things. My twin. I know,
it was, because we here. Yeah. Hey, first, okay, again, thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Chasiti, Rasheda, Gilberto. Thank you guys for coming. I really hope that something was said today that you can tangibly take away. So I've said this to a few people throughout the week so far. All of us are busy. We're all doing things, and I hate going places, and I'm like, I could have saved this whole hour of my life. And so I wanted to make sure that whatever conversations are happening, whatever is taking place, that is something that you can tangibly take away and apply today to your business. And it's important too, I think, to build community, because sometimes when we're in places, we're looking at the people who are speaking, but everything that you need is right around the room. It's really reaching across the aisle, because you never know who your next collaborator is, who your next supporter is, who your next contractor or vendor can be. So thank you all for coming. Small Business Week is happening across the country, but what we wanted to do here at Polaris was make sure that Birmingham was representative of supporting small business owners in a tangible way. Like, we love to get together. We love the free wine, okay, and the appetizing hors d'oeuvres, okay? We all like that. But I wanted to make sure you guys were learning something and connecting to people, because after you go to places, you forget what you learned. You forget how to apply it, and then there's nobody to hold you accountable. So the beautiful thing about this space is, even after this week, you can always stay connected to Polaris. You can always stay connected to the community. So if you guys have your phones out, feel free to pull them out. Pull your phone out and go and then go to your app store and go to Polaris, Polaris BHM. Download that app, and you will get push notifications about events that we have going on. You can see who's a part of the community. You can start connecting to people. If you want to just come back one day and work or ask questions, we have people on site to help you with social media, podcasting, everything. So I don't want you to just get information. I want you to execute. That's the goal of this week and beyond. So thank you guys so much for coming. And then this evening at 6 o'clock, right back in this room, we're going to be talking all things social media, how to establish your expertise. Social media is a beast. Don't be on there just showing everybody your plate, okay? Nobody cares. So we want to make sure that whatever you're showing, it connects directly to what you are doing. It connects directly to your audience, to your brand, and that you really are getting some techniques on how to properly utilize social media to establish your expertise. So thank you all for coming. And then tomorrow at 2 o'clock, we'll be wrapping the week around leadership and strategy. So we're growing companies, we're thinking about things, but you have to be a strategic thinker, and you have to know how to lead yourself and lead people as you're thinking about growing these companies, right? So we want to get you in front of some people. So Isaac Cooper will be hosting that conversation along with Ed Fields. He's the strategic advisor, thinker, big brain for the city of Birmingham, and Dr. Mike Moore, who is a leadership expert. So that's tomorrow at 2. Kayla, Gilberto, Chasiti, Rasheda, thank you guys for your time. We appreciate it. And yes, we will see you guys later on today.